Slay the Spire 2 is an incredibly faithful and well-polished sequel to its extraordinarily popular predecessor. This will probably be one of the most played and well-liked strategy game releases of this year. And despite being a close-to-perfect roguelike come DECK building strategy game, Slay the Spire 2 also raises a few concerns, or at the very least, some points of interest along the way. So, welcome to my Slay the Spire 2 review of sorts. It's an early access game, and it's a game we need to talk about. The very first thing that struck me when I sat down to play Slay the Spire 2 was how familiar or similar it feels to the original. If you've played a lot of Slay the Spire 1, like me, your first game here in 2 will feel strikingly the same. Almost identical, if not for some obvious changes, like smoother animations, and a new mechanic for each class, each of the 3 returning classes. If you haven't played a lot of the original, or you simply want a lightning-fast refresher, here's a look at the new and improved of sorts formula for Slay the Spire 2. You begin a run by choosing a character to play as. This acts as your class, and each one has its own unique card effect and gameplay modifiers. 5 classes or characters in total that you'll unlock as you play with each one, 3 returning and 2 new. The choices here in Slay the Spire 2 are a mixture of old and new. You'll begin a run with some class cards, basic attacks, and blocking skills being the most prominent, though powers and other types of card are also available. You progress from floor to floor, choosing your own branching path to reach the boss at the top of each what we call act. There are 3 acts in total in this game. Some floors will be combat, others random events, shop fronts with merchants, maybe stronger enemies called elite enemies, and more. These categories will also feel very familiar if you've played the first game. As you progress to the top floor of Act 3, you'll continue to pick up more cards, items like those instant acting potions, or powerful overarching relics that can truly reshape a run. Slay the Spire 2 utilizes a lot of these from the first game, while also introducing some new ones. Its timeline feature, and its other features in and around the main menu that catalog all of these mechanics and display, crucially on the timeline, how and where and what you'll unlock. It's a progressive system. It's a visual system, and while parts of it are certainly still early access, it's really nice overall. It's a satisfying way to monitor your progression in this loop-centric roguelike game. Just like Slay the Spire 2's combat and character animations, which are also presented better here than in the original. Returning playable characters also see some new card effects, such as Sly, and some new toys to play with along the way. The ultimate goal of Slay the Spire 2 is as roguelike and loop-focused as the original. Should you survive to the end of Act 3, you'll stab at the beating heart of the Spire, a sort of guardian-like figure called the Architect, and then start a new run over again. It's obviously worth pursuing, of course, for ascension modifiers that can be unlocked to customize future runs, and so much more. It's very much at the heart of the game. Slay the Spire 2's core gameplay loop is just as satisfying as the original, and replayability is so good, so long as you're not burnt out on some of the returning characters from the OG game. As far as 1 versus 2 comparisons go, those older characters that I've mentioned a few times now from the first game, the 3 of them that return, are, they're fun to play with. If you haven't played with them before, they are awesome and just as great as all of the rest, to be fair, in this technically early access version of Slay the Spire 2. I say technically only because, actually, the overall level of polish is pretty good. The early access label here seems to mostly be leaving the door open for extra content. Slay the Spire 2 does not currently have a roadmap to present that, though, so any promise or hints that they've made of future content is simply speculative, theoretical as of right now. A long-time fan of the franchise, or Slay the Spire 1 player, might imagine that future updates to this game will add more characters, more content for runs like relics and cards and ascension levels, maybe even a 4th act. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, though. On a less speculative and more obvious side of things, much of the artwork tied to those progression unlocks as well as some of the card effects that I've encountered while playing the game, and a few other elements are obviously still a work in progress. Think Microsoft Paint, but you're actually a decent paint artist. It's clearly marked as placeholder art, resembling that kind of initial sketch work. Despite those somewhat rough early access edges or work in progress elements, overall presentation, as I say, is great. And on the new or improved front, Slay the Spire 2 is interesting beyond a few potions and relics. The new characters and their unique mechanics are very fun. You can play as a death-like figure, with a giant sort of Wednesday-style hand fighting alongside of you. It's also a shield, you can buff it, it's brilliant, loads of fun. Or perhaps the emerging fan-favorite new class that leverages two types of mana or energy as opposed to one, like all of the other classes tend to do. Those currencies that allow you to play more cards, effects, etc. In this case, empowering a very giant, satisfying sword, among other things. As I've mentioned, returning classes also have some new and revamped mechanics to support them, as well as new cards. And as somebody who's played a lot of Slay the Spire 1, I find the changes to returning characters just don't quite feel like enough. It's great, but just not quite enough for my liking to make them feel distinctly novel. Are they fun? Yes. Are they distinctly novel? No. They can feel a bit like a free patch updated version of their previous selves, or a DLC expansion, rather than characters that justify a standalone game. And actually, and I don't mean this in a discriminatory way, and I'll expand on it toward the end of the video, but in a lot of ways, Slay the Spire 2 feels like a DLC expansion, a massive one, but an expansion of the first game. There are more ways to play, of course, than just the standard slaying of a guardian at the top of a spire's third act. Most notably, we see the return of challenge modes, like the always fun and my personal favourite, often a little bit wild in the way it's set up, the daily challenge runs that lean into the unusual, sometimes wildly overpowered combos that simply may not usually be available. You can also play multiplayer, maximum of 4 people. Cooperative multiplayer is available here in Early Access Slay the Spire 2. You and your mates move through a shared map, yet you manage individual decks. I should keep spelling that one out, shouldn't I? Demonetization away! Anyways, in multiplayer, enemies' health scales based on the number of players that you have, based on your party. So if you have 4 people playing, the enemy will have more health, and that enemy will hit all players in the game. There are some specific and unique cards or relics as well that are only available in co-op. The game changes in a couple of other neat ways too. There's a mend option available at rest sites so you can heal your teammates instead of just resting or upgrading yourself. And reward chests offer multiple distinct relics inside of them. Should you disagree with your friends about which one you'd like to take, you can play a game of paper, scissors, rock to dissolve the dispute. Dissolve the dispute. Interesting. Resolve is probably better. We'll go with dissolve. Overall, Slay the Spire 2 is an excellent early access strategy game. The deck building elements are very satisfying, and the core roguelike gameplay loop has a nice progression system that encourages a lot of repeat play, as you might expect from any good roguelike game. I think the game would benefit a lot from introducing more events in particular, and encounters throughout its early access window, as well as more items, relics, and class cards. And of course, probably some more playable characters. Maybe all of the original ones, at least. I'm in a really strange spot with Slay the Spire 2. It's weird for me, because, let me be clear, it is a fantastic game, even in its current state. It's loads of fun, and I don't doubt it will be one of the most popular strategy games this year. It's also priced at an extremely reasonable, roughly sort of $37, $38. That's New Zealand dollars, by the way, 20 to 25-ish USD, though regional pricing will vary, and that's a great deal. In my view, the only game that'll really beat this one or challenge this one in value within its wheelhouse is its predecessor, the original game, because they are so similar. The original Slay the Spire will undoubtedly, probably, be a better deal for new players, new buyers, particularly during a Steam sale, at least for the next couple of years, I have to predict. That's not quite getting to the crux of why I'm feeling like I'm in a strange place with this one, though. And it brings me to my final point that I alluded to before. As someone who's played heaps of Slay the Spire 1, this game feels like a DLC plus major free update to the first game, rather than its own distinct standalone title. And I get it. Why on earth would you change the formula when you had one of the most successful in the industry? Take Slay the Spire 1, chuck a nice engine with some nice new animations, couple new characters, card effects, relics, and you've got Slay the Spire 2, and it's fun to play. And as a roguelike strategy game, it can probably get away with that. The number of builds, or the total unique playthroughs on offer, is just totally inconceivable, uncountable. Yet, if you're very familiar with the first game, Slay 2 can sometimes feel too familiar to the original. Not to hate, because again, for the people in the back, this is a great game. Truly an excellent strategy game. My only real observation here is that the two games in this franchise share a heck of a lot in common. Think one Call of Duty game to the next, rather than a full evolution. Slay the Spire 1 didn't really evolve into 2. In reality, it feels more like the two will stand side by side as relative equals. In future, should Slay the Spire 2 use the franchise's huge sales across all the platforms and its overwhelming popularity to continue to fuel the development of this game, to add more characters, plus a more fulsome roster of its own, all the gear, right? Its own everything. With a little more events and relic diversity, I think it does become the definitive experience. And that'll wrap us up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Do, of course, as you always do, share your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll see you next time.